Hello everybody, it's Jack from Ontario Motorsport with another commentary video about Gran Turismo. This time it'll be about the FIA race from a couple of weeks ago, which was the Manufacturers' Cup Group 3s at a Blue Moon Speedway, and it was really great fun. Just so you know, keep an eye out on the name Cody Banks. He is a very important factor in this race for not so much great reasons. And I did manage to get a qualifying time of 4th. I did intend to record that qualifying, but I must have forgot, which is a shame because it was really interesting. But it doesn't matter anyways, because the real interesting part of the video is the race, of course. Now, getting started here, I do want to just be very conservative and not try to go too aggressive into the first corner because I know it's a long race. As the planes go over, a jet plane, a jumbo jet, and some fighter jets fly in through each other, so that's kind of interesting. But like I was saying, going into the first corner, I don't want to be too aggressive whatsoever. Now I'm going to be thinking about going for a pass yet, just trying to time my braking zone. Hopefully nothing goes too bad, but it looks like right away I went right alongside someone, which was completely by luck. He just went wide in the corner, and I was able to take the opportunity. Wasn't even wanting to really go for a pass, but the pass just came right to me, so that was very nice here. And basically the reason I want to be conservative as well is because I do want to start fuel saving. As you can see, a little bit of bumping and banging going on already. That's a sign of things to come in general in this race, not just with Cody Banks. But like I was saying, I do want to be conservative in general, though, because I am trying to save fuel. So you can see for the most part I am gearing up nice and early, even though I missed the gear right there and almost over-revved the engine. But I'm trying to gear up nice and early, that way I can save the fuel and hopefully pass some people in the pits who didn't bother to save fuel, because I heard from others that the best strategy for the race was to save fuel. As you see me rev the gear all the way to the top there by accident, and Handy Pansy goes right past me, taking 3rd place very easily as I accidentally block a guy behind me. And then I managed to go alongside him, and I even lift a little bit because I don't want to be side by side going into that corner. I want to stay behind him and hopefully work with him to bump draft back up to 1st and 2nd because they're battling so much. And as you can see, Grumpy's thinking about a move going into the first corner. I brake nice and late to try to avoid it. He still goes way too late on the gas, or way too late on the brake, pushes me out of the way, pushes me into another car. That car gets absolutely taken out of the race, which absolutely sucks for that guy. I apologize, that was not my fault. But it looks like I'm back behind PRST Moto, the person I started the race behind. And at this point, I had decided, well, this is the guy I'm going to try to work with to bump draft for the rest of the race, because we actually bump drafted during qualifying. I'm starting to remember that now, actually. He was my draft partner through qualifying, and that makes a lot of sense why we were 3rd and 4th. So I trusted him for bump drafting, and I knew he knew what I was doing. I think the guy behind us is also bump drafting with us. Yeah, he must be. I'm not quite sure if he bumped into us there, but as you can see, I'm very conservative going into turn 1 to avoid all contact, as there's contact ahead. I'm not sure if he's going to ghost out, so I just stay to the right. It's Cody Banks. He's definitely not out of this race, not by a long shot, despite the fact he went all the way back to 12th, I believe, there. Still bump drafting Moto here, just to remain in contact with the front pack, because I find that the bump drafting at this track is very useful. I'm not really sure if it really is the fastest way to drive, but for me it was the fastest, like myself. Because when I was watching a lot of the European drivers do their FIA races, it seemed like they weren't really bump drafting all too much. Yes, you can see the guy behind me is helping us bump draft going into the final straight / front straight here. Trying to remain, giving him a gap going into the braking zone, like I was saying, getting lots of speed off the corner. I almost missed bump drafting them there. And our pack here is just catching up as we go past another car, but that was a lap car. Wasn't aware of that at the time, so we didn't even have to move out of the way of him, but we all thought we did, because he would have remained ghosted no matter what, being a lap car. Sorry I got so close to the mic there. But Moto and me continue to work together. I'm actually saving a decent amount of fuel because of the fact I'm bump drafting and I'm being bump drafted. I'm not sure. That's a new term. It's like a new acronym or adjective I made up on the spot here. But the battling continues up ahead of us. And the thing is, this is why I like the oval races so much, and I think that Gran Turismo really needs to have more of these oval races as FIA races, or even just a daily race every so often for an oval race. Because I really enjoyed this race overall. I really enjoyed the strategy, as it is a bit of a strong point for me, because growing up I mostly played NASCAR games. I wasn't playing the F1 games as much because I found them way too difficult, so I stuck to NASCAR. Wow, as there's a little bit of contact there entirely by accident, I'm sure, because I think I braked a little early, so that was my fault. Bump drafting continues there, and I was afraid I was going to hit him. Oh yeah, at this point I think I was afraid he was slowing me down, actually. So at this point the guy had been slowing me down in my mind, so I want to go for a move to try to maybe be the leader in the bump draft, but it was a mistake by me, as me and him both mess up that corner, only slowing us both down, putting that gibberish guy into 6th place now instead of me. He immediately thinks that I guess we're not working together anymore, I believe, so he goes for a move, and because I see that move there, I just last second moved in to the inside. I still want to potentially work with this guy, so I actually lift there. I'm not even sure what, I lift there because I wasn't sure what the guy on the left was doing, and I was actually going to go for a move to the left, it was too late, and I bump into the wall, pushing Cody Banks to the right just a little bit. So I decide to just give in and start working with PRST Moto again. And Cody Banks here, I believe, is going to try to go for an aggressive move going to this corner. Not exactly. He just... Oh, I apologize. That was the ghosted car that made me think he was going for an aggressive move. That ghosted car was making me nervous all race, I remember. But anyways, knowing that I have been working well with PRST, I continue that. Like I was saying, though, earlier about the NASCAR games, yeah, it's always been a strong point for me because I played probably NASCAR 2001 to NASCAR 2009. Like every year I bought it, basically. So my racing skills really go really well with these oval races here. And I try to take that to my advantage. Honestly, going into this race, I was very confident for my ability to actually win the whole thing. At this point, I had given up on that, and I was really going to go for 5th place. But without giving too much, I definitely still had a chance for that 5th place, or for that 1st place later in the race. I definitely wasn't going to finish 5th, but as the pack starts bunching up together again because of the battling towards the front that was going on, 1st place is right within sight. Like I was saying, Cody Banks goes for an aggressive move there, a fair move. That's not what I was really going to complain about. That was a really fair move, to be honest. I had the space. I created the space, and he went for it. Absolutely fair move. It's going 3 wide into this, and Cody Banks is in a very sketchy situation here as Gibberish comes down and pushes PRST Moto into Cody Banks, which pushes everyone up, and they're bumping 3 wide onto the straightaway. Gibberish settles in behind, and at this point I'm going to try to go behind Cody Banks. That was my plan, but my run just wasn't quite strong enough because Cody Banks ended up just Cody Banks' run was just not strong enough. I apologize, because he ended up just slowing me down, but we're actually side by side having a double draft thing going on through a couple of corners. The 2 guys on the right go a little wide. I think there's contact with Cody Banks, and now Gibberish going in between on the 3 wide, making Cody Banks go a little bit to the left, slowing him down a little bit, opening up the opportunity for me to go back into 8th place. Now, expecting him to be aggressive here, I actually try to go nice and deep on the bottom as there's more contact, or nice and close to the inside on the bottom as there's contact ahead. Gibberish making a lot of questionable moves now, but to be fair, that Porsche in 7th did also kind of push him out of the way earlier. Or that might have been PRST Moto. I apologize if I'm mistaken. But at this point, I know within the next couple of laps, I should be going to the pits as I go to make a really nice move on PRST Moto. So much chaos ahead, lots of contact. I get bumped from behind by Cody Banks, which bumps handy-pansy into Gibberish, and Gibberish bumps all the way ahead. It looks like everyone was thinking about going into the pits there, and they don't, as I go in between 2 people, 3 wide. I don't know why I'm so close to the mic, I apologize again, and I actually pass both of them, and then there's 3 wide behind me, which is also scary. I go nice and tight on the inside so that they can't go for the move. I actually get lucky, and someone bumps into me coming out of the straight, coming out of the corner, which only benefited me, as you saw that big-ass boost I got, so I'm going to settle in behind Gibberish. Now, this time I was really thinking, I don't know, I want to go into the pits either at the end of lap 12 or lap 13, but I was going to see what the people ahead of me were going to do, because I did not want to lose the draft. I got bumped into the wall there, and at that point I was like, no, I'm not going into the pits, but I'm like, oh crap, I better go in. And you can see me suddenly change my mind and bump into Cody Banks there. And it's a very, very fortunate pit stop. Because if you saw coming into the pits, me and PRST Moto had about 20% more fuel than the rest of the field, and we'd been saving fuel a lot, and that benefited me greatly. As you can see, I passed all the cars ahead of me going into the pits, all 5 of them, because of the decision I made to fuel save, and then I didn't even fill up my tank to full because I didn't need to, because I knew I could continue fuel saving. And honestly, I thought this car was a heavy fuel burning vehicle, but it really isn't. It surprises me how little fuel it burned compared to how I thought it would, considering it's a bit of an older car. But I really thought the fuel would burn a lot. But I managed to make a gap about 1 second from PRST Moto, even another person who fuel saved, so he actually jumped ahead of everyone, but I fuel saved even more, making it so I have the gap. The only thing is that, well, at this point, I believe I am in what should be first place if I play my cards right and I keep the pace nice and even, because the 2 cars ahead of me haven't gone into the pits yet. Now, at this point, I know that the pack ahead of me is just going to catch up, so first place is definitely not guaranteed, and PRST Moto is right on my tail, and I actually forgot to go into radar there, so I believe I blocked him a little bit, and I apologize again for that, but he might just not be being too aggressive. As you can see, the leader and the second place guy are both going into the pits. PRST Moto trying to make a move onto the outside, and I actually just noticed him in time, given the space. A really good outside move by him. Move from the outside by him, and that was going to be first place as he actually comes to the line to lead the lap, and I don't even get to lead 1 lap. Great move by him. And like I was saying, yeah, that was first place, and me and him actually used our fuel saving to gain first and second. And that's a shame, because I was going to bump draft with him a bit, and as you saw, I got bumped out of the way by that Porsche. And at that point, I wasn't sure if he was doing stuff like that on purpose or if he's just being aggressive, because honestly, it benefited to be aggressive in this race. It was a bit like NASCAR. So looking back, I don't blame him too much. As you can see there, I gave him a little bit of a shot back, actually. I just decided not to brake going into that corner because I was a little frustrated. Probably shouldn't have done that, because you saw how much time I lost going out of coming out of that accident. So at this point, I'm just going to settle in behind, hope for a decent chance to pass, but as you see, he kills off the worst move of all moves, just almost pit maneuvering PRST Moto there. After me and him worked so hard to be first and second, this guy just comes and barges in and ruins it all. Doesn't deserve to be in first place. Good thing is that I know for a fact he won't be able to just keep it so easily, because he actually has too big of a gap, which is a thing in oval super speedway racing. You don't want to have too big of a gap, because then the slingshot effect is going to be really big, and the pack will actually pass past you really quickly. It's better to have the gap really small. As you see him go to break my draft there, I already had such a nice run, it didn't really matter. But then you see my horrible timing trying to time the move there. Going into turn 1, I go a little deep on the brakes, which actually gets it, so I don't have too good of an exit coming out of the corner, but luckily enough, PRST Moto is working with me, because we are pretty much allies at this point in my head. In basically, and then here I get a chance, and I just dive to the inside, absolutely melt this guy. No idea why that's not a penalty, but he was not happy with that, as he basically did what I did to him earlier, push me into the wall. I slide, somehow I crash into him. PRST Moto somehow comes off the worst out of that. He gets a penalty as a result. Not the guy who crashed into me, not the guy who crashed into us a bunch of times. The guy who actually did nothing wrong gets a penalty, and I really feel bad for him at this point. Here comes some more chaos as Gibberish starts pushing people out of the way, and you can see that in the radar everyone's crashing. And then I have a large gap, about half a second, with 5 laps to go. But like I was mentioning before, this is probably too big of a gap, and I already am very nervous about being passed. I am very nervous about being passed, and as you see, Nuts is already on my tail, goes for the outside. I don't know if he changed his mind or if there was a little bit of contact, but he doesn't make the move. Then I brake at the normal point. He's probably just not ready. He bumps into me. This is the pole sitter, by the way, so I can see why he's being so aggressive as he manages the cutback perfectly, goes on the inside. We're side by side going down the front straightaway. As I try to make the braking absolutely perfect, he gets a bump draft from the guy behind. I try to go for the cutback knowing this, and I do manage to get the cutback, or manage to get alongside him, but I get a little loose and bump him a tiny bit, which gives him the position back in the end. Now I'm in second place, which is really the best spot to be to win the race on these super speedways, in my opinion. You want to be second place going into the last lap. That's really the best spot, obviously, other than if you have a giant gap, like a 5-second gap at first, but you know what I mean. Then Cody Banks out of nowhere with the same move again. Once again, that's a little aggressive, but fair, and Cody Banks was in 12th place at one point. Now he's in second. He's all the way up there, and I managed to go back to 4th after being first at one point. MSX Violent, which I had never seen all race, is in 3rd, and then Cody Banks absolutely takes that guy out. Not sure what happened there because the replay got corrupted, so I can't look at it, but he absolutely melts that guy and robs him of first place. I bumped to MX Violent slightly, as you saw there, but I settle into 3rd. Now there's only 4 laps to go, and I am really getting sick and tired of the people who are ramming people off the road and getting these positions as a result of that, which makes me look like a bit of a hypocrite coming up here, as you will see. But, I mean, what I said makes me seem like a hypocrite coming up here. I was really frustrated, so I was really going to be, I just decided for the last 3 laps, I'm just going to be super aggressive because I just want to beat Cody Banks, because he's already rammed me in a previous race, by the way. But I brake too late, setting this guy, bumping him just a little bit, which almost ends up crashing him into the wall. Not as bad off as I thought it was going to be. Guy behind me decides to help me out by bump drafting me again. And, sorry, the mosquito flew by. But, there's a chance, once again, like I was saying, that first place. Oh, as you see, there's a little bit of water. I had to make a giant, very sudden move. But coming out of this corner, MSX Violence gets the better run, making him remain in second as the guy behind me thinks about a move, goes to the inside, but he thinks better of the move to and stakes behind. As you can see, I go for an absolute dive bomb, making me sound like a hypocrite like I was mentioning earlier, being a little aggressive, but it ends up backfiring anyways, as the Honda has the draft from Cody Banks and ends up staying ahead of me. And the guy behind me continues to bump draft me some more, and I decide that I want to work with MSX Violent, but I do the wrong thing and bump draft him at the very absolute worst spot, sending him into the wall. Might have been a combination of Cody Banks and him, but as I run into him one more time, I did not mean to do that, but I decided to keep the spot. But, yeah, I do apologize if you don't think that was fair. But I was really sick of this at this point, so I was not going to give up the spot. I was just like, it's time to go for first. And the gap is about 0.8 of a second at this point, so I still have a chance to get the lead. I just have to get the next 2 corners absolutely perfect, as the gap is close enough. Get this corner absolutely right, hit the apex, go all the way to the outside. I have a great running going into this corner. I just have to time the braking, but I actually don't brake in time, as I don't take into consideration the speed I'm going, which makes me go a little bit wide, ruining my chance of catching up to him. I'm going to have to settle for second, but it was a great result. My best FIA result in a while, as you can see me do a little celebration at the end. But I just wanted to show you guys that quick video. Feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Thank you again.